Hello everyone, I am Nabil Mourad. In this project I want to show you how to create a month calendar for any month in any year. So we can build a date by selecting a day, a month and a year. I have three drop lists. So if I select a day, let's say the 16th of June, and then I select the year 2011. Automatically the calendar has been generated, the date has been built, and I have a dynamic label. If I change the day, the month, the year, everything updates on the fly. Conditional formatting shows me the selected day, and the dynamic label tells me which month in which year is selected. I'll be using Power Query to build this project, but along the way, I'll show you lots of interesting Excel tips and tricks. We have a lot to learn, so let's get started. Here is my start file. It's almost a blank file. All what I have in this file are some labels in row number 2 for the day, the month, and the year, and I'll be building a date in cell E3, and also I have some labels to the right. I want to start by creating a drop list for the day that shows number from 1 to 31, a drop list for the month that shows number from 1 to 12, and then a drop list for the year. And let's say I'm going to start from 1985 and I'll be counting for 50 years. To prepare for creating my drop list, I'll be navigating a little bit to the right. In row number 1, I see the number of items that will appear in each drop list, and I can create a list of numbers from 1 to 31. If you are using an installed version of Excel, you can simply type 1, hit Ctrl Enter, hover over the lower right corner, and then press Ctrl and drag, and you will be creating an incremental list of numbers. I'm going to delete this, and because I'm using Office 365, I'm going to create the numbers that will be included in the 3 list by using a sequence function. I type equal sequence, and then I hit Tab. How many rows would you like to see? I want 31 rows. And then I hit comma. I need one single column. And then I type comma. I want to start at 1. I type comma. And I want a step of 1. When I close the bracket and hit Control Enter, I would have created the number that will appear in each list. As you can see, the sequence function spills to the adjacent cells, being a dynamic array function. For the years, I don't want to start at 1, I want to start at 1985, so I hit F2 and edit the third argument of my function, which is the start, and I'll be typing 1985. When I hit enter, I get a list of 50 years starting from 1985. My next step will be creating a data validation drop list for the day, another one for the month, and a third one for the year. I can create them in one single step by selecting the range from A3 to C3, and then I can go to the Data tab of the ribbon and click on Data Validation. Alternatively, I hit the shortcut Alt-D-L, Tab-L tab. With my blinking cursor in the source box, I want to select the first cell where I created my function, only the first one. So I can navigate a little bit to the right to see the cell I want to select. I click on cell W2. It's an absolute cell reference, but because I'm creating the 3 drop lists all together, so I hit F4 1, 2, 3 times, and I type the pound sign, the spilled array symbol, which means go ahead and extend your selection to the entire spilled array. So I type Shift 3, and then when I hit OK, I would have created the 3 drop lists. Let me test. Here is a drop list for the days, and I want to select, let's say, the 28th. And for the month, I'll be selecting the month of October, and for the year, I'll be selecting 2020. In cell E3, I want to build a date. And to build a date, I use a date function, equal date, and then I hit tab. And the date function requires a year, a month, and a day. So I click on the year in cell C3, type comma, click on the month, B3, comma, click on the day, and then close the bracket, and then I hit Control Enter, and I would have built the date. I want to change the formatting of the date, and we have so many ways of doing this. I have a preference to using the shortcut Control Shift 3. My next step will be building a dynamic label for my calendar. This dynamic label will live in cell G1 and it will read the month and year from the selected date. And to do that, I need to combine two functions separated by a space. I type an equal sign, and to extract the month from the selected date in cell E3, I use a text function. So I type text, and then I hit tab, text of cell E3, and then I hit comma. How would you like to format it? I want to format it in month. So in double quotes, I'll be typing 1, 2, 3, 4 M's. M stands for month. I close the double quotes and I close the bracket. I want to join it to a space, so I hit Shift 7, the joining operator on your keyboard. I type double quote space double quote, and I want to join it to another text function, so I hit Shift 7 and then I type text. I hit tab. This time I want the text of the same date, and I hit comma, but I want to format it as years, so I'll be using 4Ys in double quotes, double quote and close the bracket. When I hit Control Enter, I'm getting the month and year. I want to format it a little bit, so I go to the Home tab. I can bump it up to 16. I can bold it. I can change it to a matching color, the green color. And then I want to center it across the 7 columns from G to M. So I select the range. I never use the Merge and Center command. I prefer to open the Format Cell dialog box, Control 1. I click on the Alignment tab. And from here, for the horizontal alignment, I select Center Across Selection. When I hit OK, I would have created a nice label. My next step is to build my calendar, and I'll be using Power Query to do that. In order to send cell E3 to Power Query, I have to convert it with its label into a table. And there are many ways of converting a list into a table. The easiest way is to use one of the two shortcuts, either Control L for list or Control T for table. When I hit Control T, I hit Enter, and I would have converted my list into a table. Before I go to Power Query, I want to select a matching style for my table. So on the Table Design tab, I click on the down arrow where it says More, and I select this green style. I don't even need the filter button, so I take the check away from filter button. To send this table to Power Query, I can go to the Data tab of the ribbon and click on From Table Range. I have a preference to using the shortcut Alt-APT. My Power Query editor opens on top of Excel. To the right side, I have the query name, and I'm going to give it a better name, so I'll be typing calendar. I can see in the applied steps, there is a step that has been added automatically by Excel, change type. I don't want this step, so I'm going to remove it. To the left side, I see the single value coming from the table, and I want to change the formatting into a date, so I click on the little icon to the left side of the field name, and I select a date formatting. What I would like to do in order to build my calendar is to extract a complete list of the days of this specific month in this specific year. We have a special M function in Power Query that can perform that. It's called List.Dates. This function requires 3 arguments. One of these arguments will be the start of the month. The second argument will be the number of days, and the third argument is called duration. We'll see it later. In preparation for using the List.Dates, I need to extract the start date of the month and the number of days in that month. I select the only field I have, the date field, and I go to the ribbon. I have a Transform tab and Add column. If you look at the Transform tab, I have a group for date and time column, but this one will change the current field. It doesn't add a new field. I have the same exact functionality on the Add column. This one will add a new column. What would you like to do? I click on the down arrow for date, and then I go down to month. I want the start of the month, and automatically a new step has been added to the applied steps, and this is the start of the month. I select the date one more time, and I'm wondering how many days I have in this month. I go to the same drop list for the date, hover over month, and this time I want days in month. And that's all what I need for using my List.Dates function. To create this function, I click on Custom Column. In the Custom Column dialog box, I want to give it a name, so I'll name it Full Month. The function I'll be using is called List.Dates. Note that Power Query functions are case sensitive, so I type List.Dates. Capital L, capital D. I open bracket and automatically a screen tip shows me the arguments required for this function. It says start as date, so I double click on start of month. I hit comma. The second argument is the count, how many days, so I double click on days in month. And then I hit comma. The last argument is the step. I want to step by 1 day, so I need to provide a duration, and I type a hash sign followed by typing duration in lowercase. I open bracket, and then I want to step by 1 day, comma, 0 hour, comma, 0 minute, comma, 0 second, and I close the bracket for the duration, and I close the bracket for the List.Dates. I hit OK, and here is a list created. If you hover over list and click to the right side, look at the lower left corner. It shows me the list that will be generated when I click on the double side pointing arrows. I click on the double side pointing arrows to expand, and I'll get two options. I want to expand to new rows. I select the first option, and automatically I get a list of dates. My calendar will show the days in numbers and the weekdays abbreviated, so I need to extract them out of this column. I select this column, and I'm still on the Add Column tab of the ribbon. I click on the down arrow for date, and this time I'll go down to day, and I select day. I get the day in numbers. I go back to the same column, full month, and this time I would like to extract the weekday. So I click on the down arrow of date one more time, go down to day, and then I select name of day. In a calendar, I need the name abbreviated. And to extract the name abbreviated, there are different ways. I can create a column from example, type 1 or 2 abbreviated names, and Power Query will be able to follow the pattern. But there is an easier way. I select the day name column, and this time I go to the Transform tab of the ribbon. Because I won't be adding a column, I just want to extract the left 3 characters of the weekday name. I click on the down arrow for extract, and from here I select first characters. I want 3 characters. When I hit OK, I get the abbreviated name. When I create a calendar, I see the weekday names at the column headers, and these will be the values that appear in the calendar. But I would like to move to a new row at the beginning of each week. And because in Power Query the week starts on a Sunday, I would like the first occurrence of a Sunday to show a number, and this number is replicated throughout the weekdays until we reach the next Sunday. This number increments, and so on. The next week will increment as well, and will keep incrementing from one week to the next week. And there are different ways of doing this, but I'm going to show you an extremely simple technique. So if I click on full month one more time, I want to insert a column, and this column will increment at each Sunday. So I go to the Add Column tab, click on the down arrow for date, and this time I go to week, and I'll be extracting the week of month. I get an incremental number, 1, and then when it reaches Sunday, it increments to 2, and then when it reaches the next Sunday, it increments to 3, and that's wonderful. That's all what I need to build my calendar. In my next step, I want to get rid of some columns, so I click on the date, and then I press Shift and click on full month. I want to remove these columns, so I right-click and select Remove Columns. These are the 3 columns that I need for building my calendar, and I'll be selecting the day name and the week of month. I press Shift and click on Week of Month. Remember that the day name is what will appear in the column header, and the week number will appear at the row header. I'll be deleting it later on, and the day is the one that will appear in the values area, as if you are creating a pivot table. Column header, row header, and values. With these two fields selected, I want to pivot my table. I go to the Transform tab and then click on Pivot Column. The Pivot Column dialog box opens, and read what it says. It says use the names in the column day name to create new columns, which means column header. And then for the values, which values will appear in the body of the calendar? I want the day, so I select day, and I don't want to perform any aggregation, so I click on Advanced Options, and from the drop list I select Don't Aggregate. When I hit OK, I would have pivoted my list. At the top, I see the column headers. That's wonderful. And then I see the values representing the day, and I see the week number in the row header. Actually, I don't need this column. So I select week of month, I right click, and then remove this column. And now I want to fix my calendar in a way that it starts on a Sunday, and that's very easy. I just want to move 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, so Sunday is the first day of the week. So I select Sunday, I press Shift and click on Wednesday, and then I right-click and select Move to Beginning. Now I finished creating my calendar, and I want to send it back to Excel. To do that, I click on the Home tab, click on the down arrow for Close and Load, and select Close and Load to. I want to load my calendar into a table in the existing worksheet, so I select Existing Worksheet, and I'll dump it in cell G2. When I hit OK, then here is my calendar. Let's close the Queries and Connections pane, and I'll be doing some changes in my calendar. I select it, and then I want to remove the filter button. I want to create a conditional formatting that highlights the selected date. So I select all the range, and then I go to the Home tab, click on the down arrow for conditional formatting, click on New Rule, and click on Use a Formula. I put my blinking cursor in the formula box, and because I'll be creating my formula from the perspective of the active cell, I click on the active cell. I don't want it to be an absolute cell reference, so I hit F4 3 times, and then I say if it is equal to the day selected from the drop list, then in this case I want to format. I click on the Format button, and let's say I want to bold it, I want to make the font white, and I want a dark green fill color. I hit OK twice, and here is the formatting. If I change the day, the conditional formatting will update. Let me test. So I click on the down arrow for the day, and let's say I select the 25th, and I'll be selecting the month of February, and for the year, let's select 2013. Automatically, the 25th is selected, my label updates, but my calendar does not update. For Power Query to update, I need to go to the Data tab of the ribbon and click on Refresh All. Alternatively, I can use the shortcut Ctrl-Alt-F5 and my calendar updates. My first problem is that Power Query does not update automatically whenever I make a change from the drop list, and I want to fix that. The second problem is the column width changes when I refresh my query. So I want to fix that as well. Let's start with fixing the column width. So I'm going to expand. I want my calendar to be a little bigger. I select a single cell from the table. I click on Table Design, and then I click on Properties. When I click on Properties, if I take the check away from Adjust Column Width, then next time I refresh the query, the width of the column is not going to change. Now let me test. Let's say I change the month. Instead of February, I'll be selecting, let's say, July. And instead of 2013, I'll be selecting 2016. I hit Control Alt F5. I'm still refreshing manually, and I fixed the problem of the column width. Now the final thing I want to do is to be able to make a selection from the drop list, whether for the day, the month, and year, and have the query refresh automatically. So I'll be writing a very simple code in VBA. And this code says, if you make a change in A3 or B3 or C3, then refresh the entire workbook. To create this event code, it's called a change event code. I right-click on the Sheet tab and I select View Code. My Visual Basic editor opens and I have a drop list in the upper left side. So if I click on this drop list, I want the worksheet events. I select this one and automatically it creates an event code, the selection change event. That's not the correct code. I'll be deleting it later on. So I click on the right drop list and from this one I select the change event. I can now go and delete the previous event. And between the private sub and end sub, I need to write my change event code. My code reads, if not intersect, target range A3, C3 is nothing, is reversed by not. This line of code means if you make a change in any one of the three cells, A3, C3, what do you want to happen? I want this workbook to refresh on. And then an end if to close the statement, and I finished creating my VBA code. I can close my Visual Basic editor by clicking in the upper right corner. Now let's enjoy our project. I change the day, and when I change the day and select any day, everything updates. If I change the month, my query should refresh on the fly. If I change the year, and let's say I select 2021 or 2031 or any year in the past or in the future, then my query updates automatically. And we were able to create a dynamic calendar for any month in any year. We combined in this project the power of dynamic arrays, data validation, date functions, Power Query, conditional formatting, and VBA.